மிகவும் தனிப்பட்ட குறிப்பிட்ட இந்த மக்களுக்கு என்னுடைய வணக்கங்களை தெரிவித்துக் கொள்கிறேன். வணக்கம் சென்னை. I'm going to intersperse a little bit of Tamil every now and then. Hopefully Mr. Bhagat understands most of it. Most Bangalore residents do. First off, it's wonderful being here this evening, sharing space with such a unique set of erudite and responsible citizens of India, starting from Mr. Bhagat, whose fiction books obviously have a lot more reach as far as I am concerned, but I promise to read all three of your non-fiction today. I'll start with India Positive today. But I do know all the people on stage, and I know several of you watching us today as well. So please free to pitch in with whatever questions or suggestions you may have. It's not, I don't usually moderate the set in stone discussions. It's more of a free flow of thought. So, I think feel free to feel and participate in whatever we do. I'm going to start by thanking Mr. Bhagat for that extremely charming speech that you gave. The speech was almost as charming as you yourself are. And I have to say, there is a reason why the May 23rd results are much more interesting to at least us in this part of the world over anything, World Cup or be it any other event. Why? Because on May 23rd, we are assured of an Indian team winning. So that's probably why that's more interesting. And as far as Mr. Kumaravel goes, I think he knows what he is doing. Chetan, of course, mentioned the obstacles and the kind of demonization that people have to face once they step into politics. But here's the deal. He mentioned somebody selling the concept of beauty in South India. And I have a different take on it. If you can actually sell the business of beauty to Madrasis, because that's like selling ice to Eskimos. If you can actually sell beauty to the already gorgeous people of Tamil Nadu, then you can do anything, anywhere. So he knows what he's doing. That's why he doesn't sell beauty to the women of Tamil Nadu. He sells confidence. I have to admit, I have never been to a beauty parlor. I'm an actress. That's what I do for a living. We have to look certain ways, and I've never been to a beauty salon till Naturals came around. And even that, after I met Mr. Kumaravel, only because there are little services that he offers that don't involve reshaping my eyebrows or telling me that I have to be a certain skin color. He I think, brings out, I think most of us women like to go to a natural salon because they tell us, why do you need us? You're already so pretty. So, anyway, thank you so much, and I think he knows what he's doing. I'm looking forward to seeing what his positive thoughts are. You already told us a lot. So I'm going to maybe start with the others and then come last to you. But quickly, before I say anything else, I want to give a shout out to Michelle. Michelle, you're the perfect representative of what Tamil Nadu is going through today. At least on May 23rd, they just have to look at you for all the questions we have. Look at her. She's this beautiful, beautiful representation of femininity, clad in complete saffron with a hint of black as well. Black shirts or saffron, that's the whole point, right? You should clap for this. That's a really clever comment. So Michelle, which one are we? Right now I'm looking at majority saffron. Is that what you feel? Is that something that you're symbolizing? Whichever way, black or saffron. Black or saffron? That's pretty much the question I'm going to start with in today's discussion. So I'll start with the other saffron guy in our midst, Mr. Narayan Tirupati, spokesperson of the BJP. But first, this is a question I'm kind of putting forth to everybody in the hall and everyone listening to the speech is, as Mr. Chetan Bhagat clearly detailed, in 1947, we started out with nothing or even less than nothing. We had been marauded by successive waves of invaders and colonists. So we started at a very, very arguably, probably the lowest point of our history in 1947, except for the infrastructure that the British left behind for us. And then we started with a dream of a sovereign, socialist, democratic republic. The dream also included secular ideals after 1977. So with the dream of a sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic republic, promising justice, liberty, equality, and fraternity to all, where have we come in 72 years? In comparison to our neighbors who started pretty much on the same day, where have we come in comparison to Pakistan? And that's a very easy question and a very nice question to answer. We've done really well compared to our neighbors. India is the top performing economy as well as democracy in South Asia. So we've done really well. But then, where have we come in comparison to China? Now that's a question not many people want to answer or can answer, because as a democracy, we have progressed manifold. I mean, there are many things that we can't deny. At the time of independence, we were producing 50 million tons of food grains, and we produce 5 times that now. Today, we are arguably the 6th biggest economy in the world in terms of GDP and our contribution to world GDP. So we have come a long way, but at every point, the question is, what we have achieved through voluntary compliance. Our neighbor, China, has leapfrogged into development by using a completely different approach. So now, which is positive politics? Is the politics that ensures that we have individual and social freedoms protected? Is that positive politics? Or is the politics that ensures that people below poverty line are completely elevated from it in a matter of less than 70 years positive politics? Which is the questions that we need to be addressing now going forward?
See, first of all, undoubtedly, this country is the best country in the world. There is no doubt at all. You cannot compare Pakistan and China, because the democracy what we have in the last, say, 72 years, definitely no country in the world will have this kind of democracy. And we have to be proud of that. See, when you talk about Pakistan, definitely you cannot compare India, because in this country, the majority of the people are very tolerant. When I say majority, don't mix religion into it. Okay. So, because this country is very peaceful, because this is a country where tolerant people are more. And in Pakistan, it is not so. You cannot compare China, because China is a country where development is there, but democracy is not there. Development without democracy is like a hell. That is what is happening in China. We don't know. We don't know, because this kind of, we all talk about freedom. We all talk about right to freedom or right to expression, which is not there in China. Definitely. There is no Google, there is no Yahoo in China. See, We have to understand all those things. So this is definitely, I don't think it is nice even to compare our country with Pakistan or China, because our country is the best, whether it is ruled by BJP or Congress or DMK or ADMK or any other party. Our country is the best. All our political leaders are the great people who have contributed so many.
Narayanji, I'm going to interrupt you and just mention a few facts. In the Corruption Perception Index, China is about 20 places ahead of us. So, you know, development without democracy doesn't work. I'm just saying, I'm throwing these ideas out. So, in the Corruption Perception Index, in the Women's Safety Index, guess where India is? We're the last in the world. So hold on, let me finish. And when it comes to ease of doing business, India is doing very well. It's number 1, it's top in the South Asian countries. It's also number 3 in the BRICS index, BRICS group of countries. But we are in the late 80s, while China is actually with the European developed nations, they're in the 40s. In ease of doing business. So at some point, we do have to think about development as, you know, my question is democracy the best system going forward? Is the democracy India style the best system? Can I ask Mr. Mohan Kumar Mangalam this? Is this the best system? Because, you know, we keep saying the same things. We keep saying, Mera Bharat Mahan, India is the best, we are free. But you talked about freedom of expression. But then there is a Mamata Banerjee caricature leading to somebody going to jail. There is a Modi comment on a social media that leads to somebody getting arrested. So are we really that free of a nation when it comes to FOE?
I mean, I wouldn't start by saying we're the best in the world. I mean, I think we have a long way to go. I mean, comparing us to some of our immediate neighbors is not even worth it anymore. We're far ahead of Pakistan. We should be looking at China, but frankly, China is so far ahead of us that they're not going to look back and compare themselves with us. You have pluses and minuses, right? So interestingly, when I was in business school, we had this India-China class, I remember, and I had a Chinese professor who always lauded the Indian model of growth over their model of growth. And he asked me, he said, you know, if you had a choice back when you were born, would you rather have been born in China, given that they've gone so far ahead? And I said, well, I wouldn't have been born, because around the time that I was, they had a one-child policy and I'm a second child. So that, in a way, is illustrative of, you know, the choices that we don't know that we've had growing up in this democracy. Yes, you're going to see frequent abuses of rights that, you know, are ordained to us under the Constitution, that is freedom of expression and as such. But broadly, the freedoms we enjoy are things that we're taken for granted and allow us to live in this economy in a way that you'd never even be able to think of in China. So my cousin was married to someone from Beijing. He was doing business in Beijing and he ended up marrying the person he was working with. And around the time that the Olympics came to China, I'm giving you this as, you know, sort of an anecdotal evidence. Around the time Olympics came to China, his in-laws were staying sort of in the heart of the city. So the government showed up one day and said, sorry, we're going to have to clear this entire area out. And his in-laws were about 65, 70, you know. After living in that particular area for 25 years, you get used to it, you get used to all your surroundings. And they were shifted about 50 kilometers out of that city to a completely new establishment with all the same measures, but they had no choice in it. So this is something that could never happen in India. And you could argue that that's the only way we could get development. You know, we have to force these things, have infrastructure. For example, I was in Malaysia the other day, and of course they have their oil revenue boom, but they've had one government for 65 years, and some of the infrastructure I saw was world class. It was as good as, you know, this infrastructure that I saw when I was working in the US. But if you ask me personally, I would prefer this model of growth, and I would prefer to retain the freedoms that are afforded to me in India.
So I'm going to take off from where you left, what you said now, and I'm going to ask KPR sir. The question is, everybody agrees that development is important, but freedom of choice is much more important, right? Are we all on one voice here about that? We'd much rather compromise on some comforts than compromise on our liberty. Is that what we are saying? Is that what we are saying?
Well, I mean, I wish it wasn't a trade-off.
Right.
I mean, I wish there was no trade-off, and I don't think necessarily the trade-off is in that sense, that it's one or the other. There are a lot of questions about China's model of development
It could be worse. We could be behind an iron curtain and have no freedoms and have no development either. So
we're better off than that.
But the question I have for the government here is the whole point of development. And today, in society as a whole, Kumravel sir expressed it very clearly. He says, don't depend on government for development. If there needs to be progress, it needs to come from, and that's what this book is all about. If there needs to be reform, if there needs to be progress, if India needs to go to the next stage, it has to come from us, the people, we the people. So exactly what do you see is the role of government post May 23rd? But first, you have to tell me, what did you see the role of government was in the last 2 years, particularly after December 2016?
Okay. First, I want to congratulate Chetan for giving this book. I think it's a damn good book. Whatever I read, I've had many glances at his articles in Times of India, which I've been reading regularly. But I really, looking at it together as a bouquet of offerings, makes me feel very good. It's very, very positive book. And though I think many of the are very touched when you started asking about, Bhakt is a word he takes on quite heavily. He has one serious interpretation of Bhakt, and I hope you don't read that page, read that chapter. It's in a way, I went through some 5-6 chapters before I came, and I really felt that there's a thread of positivity across this entire critiquing, and which I think is phenomenal. And it's nice read. It actually reads like a novel. It reads as lucidly as a novel does, and I want to just recognize you for that. Talking of China and positive politics, I mean, with Kasthuri, it started off, I was finding it quite funny to see a comparison with, politics there as it has evolved in China, as you know, has a very different geopolitical set of events which have led to China as it is. And when I met some of our Chinese friends, I used to run an office in China, one of the first HR companies to set up office in China, struggled to do that quite heavily. And they actually believe that they are a stronger democracy than India is. When I meet many of them, they have 98% votes in their elections. But when it comes to but when it comes to the Communist Party election, it's very vigorously fought, and it's really grassroots onwards. See, the democracy you see in the Indian political parties, most of the parties included, including BJP, which among the lot at least has a semblance of elections from the grassroots level. But I think most of the other parties, you don't have elections, to take and lead up to the top or whatever. Let me complete. I'm saying,
right back to
let me come back to, the China story. So Chinese actually believe that their democracy level within the party is so strong. They actually have 5-6 contestants for a local branch election of their party. So for them, positive politics really mean that you become a good communist member. You become a good member of the Communist Party of China. That's what they believe. And I think they have their own brand of positive politics within a large structure, which could be very crippling when we see from outside. But you see inside the Chinese model, they are on a testosterone, as you call. They've been fed with that drive. They want to be number one in the world, kind of a thing. The kind of depth to which they've gone in to penetrate that that theory that they were number one in the world and they want to be number one in the world again.
Been there. Is that a voluntary vigor among the people of China, or is that their official stated policy?
No. Very interestingly, I don't see. Most of us when we encounter them in business, we see them very controlled from somewhere, kind of a thing, even when they speak. But when I actually lived there in China and saw some of them, I didn't see a great difference between, whether they were indoctrinated into thinking in a certain way or whatever, especially after the Tiananmen Square, the Tiananmen Square or whatever, when they were razed to death, many of them. When many people around the world were talking about China will disintegrate, especially after the Muslim issue, which happened in one province of China, I really felt that, much of the model that they have may actually be very stable. I don't see, them breaking apart or anything like that. And I see the youth really coming in to take positions of political power, which to them does not happen in a popular election. It happens in a party election.
Let's focus more on Tamil Nadu.
No, since you started with China, oftentimes we tend to, compare, some of these models and when we talk about our own democracy. So coming to May 23rd and...
No, because because you said all that, I'm thinking two questions. The first question is obviously, so do you think we should try their model instead of what is going on? Would you consider some reforms, take some clues from the communist parties in India maybe?
Honestly, Kasthuri, I don't think in terms of China and their developmental model and where they have reached and all that, there is one basic instability in their economy, which I think now in the war with the US-China trade war, some of it is, in my view, getting exposed. I see greater stability in our Indian model as we are progressing with the democracy, as we understand democracy to be. And I really think the power of positive politics, the greatest challenge in India, as I see, is not many people who are educated and who are part of the elite, so to speak, coming into politics. And even including you, for instance. For instance, you have such a relationship of in now, out now kind of a model. And there are many of you, many of them like you, who could actually, come into politics, but who will not, who will just stay there, take another different roles. And I think there are many of them in India.
We need some watchdogs as well
I know,
for the entire process.
Yeah,
some people have to be outside of the system.
And I think there are far too many of them who are outside and pointing fingers, in my view. To my view, the power of positive politics, I see the first invitation that I want to make is, if this large group of spectators and commentators can actually become players, it would actually help many of us, for instance, who have in a way taken a risk and come in to politics, taking a whole lot of things. I'm sure he has taken a lot, who, like he almost taked it, who went in, joined a party, wanted to stand for elections and stuff like that. Then there's a recoil. I just want to capture one aspect of Chetan's running thread in this whole thing. Is like, don't stay as a spectator, be actively involved. Not necessarily as a politician, but I see, take stances. Like, for instance, the stance that he's taken on pornography, for instance. Very interesting, I read that particular thing, where when the government attempted to ban pornography in India, very strong stance, very recent, very strong stance, morally, legally, practically, what kind of things it would be. In my view, that's actually politics.
Sir, in the same vein, how do you react to the stances taken across Tamil Nadu, starting from Sterlite up to Neduvasal, especially, and the Salem 8-lane highway? So these are stances being taken by the public, and I'm going to throw open that question first to Mr. Ponraj and then come to you, because when you compare Tiananmen Square, the only comparable event I can think of, incident I can think of in recent memory is Thoothukudi. So, Mr. Ponraj, my question to you is, I agree with the point stated in the book as well, that we all have to be participants in the larger reform that we want to see, and we have to be the change that we want to see. But as the founder and coordinator of Vision 2020, as somebody who has been a very, very prominent activist, do you find going and being that change that practical in real life?
See, in India, if you look at, we are in a democracy. Whatever in a democracy, everything is possible in a democracy. Everything is possible in a democracy. That is why the ups and downs both are possible. If you look at the China and India, the comparison.
No more China.
No, wait a minute. I have a point to make because as our KPR sir and Mr. Kumaramangalam said, there are 2 points which he made. He said, there is a democracy in functioning of the party, Communist Party. When Dr. Kalam and myself went for a World Economic Forum in Beijing, we met the energy minister. Dr. Kalam asked one question to the energy minister. He said, how your political party is functioning? He said, we have a political institution. Anybody who wants to become a member of a communist party, he has to go through and he has to clear the exams and get a degree, then he can become a member. If then only they will fight with the democracy. That is another point. He mentioned, okay, China is very forthright in destroying and taking decision and throwing the people out. We also do same thing in India. We also do same thing in everywhere. So with all the democracy, we are able to vacate the people. We are not good at rehabilitation. We are not good at compensation. There are many people who are not paid a compensation, even NLC, in sale. It is still a story. Okay. This is, so the democracy also there is a evil, and there is a communism also there is a good thing. So it is a question of the leadership. You look at it. If you compare to China and India, we can certainly compare China with India because we are first, we are head on to China with the population. Okay. Second, we are head on to China with the democracy.
That's our achievement.
That is, we are head on to China with our democracy. Because with democracy, 70 years, the democracy brings a great, the hope of the people become live every 5 years. That is, we are head on to people. We will witness in 23rd also, May 23rd also. Okay, the second. The third one, we are head on to China in finding a water molecule on the moon. When China failed 6 times, India achieved in first attempt. We are head on to China. The third one, if you look at it, in rice productivity, China per hectare productivity is 6 tons per hectare in China, but India's total productivity is 3 tons per hectare. In Tamil Nadu, whoever the farmers follow SRI, the 7 tons per hectare, we are head on to China. And many farmers who got even 24 tons per hectare through SRI in Tamil Nadu. This is a history. So Tamil Nadu is head on to China rather than India. So these are the 4 things.
Amma's Tamil Nadu. Amma's Tamil Nadu.
So we feel proud that we are nowhere.
Are we going to give credit for the agricultural progress of Tamil Nadu to
Wait a minute.
one scheme only?
Okay, wait a minute. So this is how we feel proud of it, because even with the democracy, we are able to achieve a greater heights in the space as well as in the land.
So
these are the 2
even with
things.
the democracy, what do you mean even with the democracy?
With all the communism, China achieved greater heights. But with the democracy, India is able to achieve these 4 achievements. So that we have to feel proud of it. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. So next, if you look at China, where we are lacking, the problem is in India. No, wait a minute. You have to compare. Then only we can understand. See, where we are lacking on the vision. In 1990, China made a great vision. The vision is 3. Import state-of-the-art machines from global countries. Setting up a manufacturing hub. Then export, manufacture the quality product and export globally. These are the 3 visions which China set. By doing these 3 visions, the Chinese government sincerely adopted without any deviation. By 2008, China made the entire developed countries to fall behind on China for manufacturing hub. Okay? Then 2008, what China did? China did 1 point. They said, transfer all your IPR to China, then only we will manufacture. None of the developing countries could do anything. They fall on try. 2008, they made it. Today, America is crying that China is infringing on IPR rights. We will tax on you. We will put 25% tax. This is the war between America and China. Today, you see the entire world fall behind. So, with all the thing, they are carrying forward the vision. By 2002, when Vajpayee government has initiated interlinking of rivers. At the same time, China initiated interlinking of rivers. Today, in 2015, China connected Yangtze River from south and north. 2,000 kilometers they have connected the rivers. India could not do anything. The interlinking of rivers, what they have initiated. Today, BJP manifesto says, we will form again a committee. So after 19 years, we are forming committee after committee. That is a problem. So that is a problem. So Congress could not even believe that the interlinking of rivers is possible. That is a problem with the Congress.
They clearly said it's not possible.
It is not possible. So how can you say that? So the vision, how a government, successive government, after democratically elected by the 1 billion people of this country, you do not follow the vision, but you follow one thing. Whatever P. Chidambaram has created GST, BJP implement sincerely and make the people suffer. Whatever the
I'm sorry, as
party
we
politics
Okay.
prepared by
I'm
Congress,
going to have to-
BJP implements
I'm going to
properly.
have to
Instead of that, if you
I'm going
follow
to-
developmental politics,
Sir,
certainly
I'm
India
sorry,
will become
Mr.
great.
Ponnaj.
We need to backtrack.
I mean,
a
either
little
we make
bit.
this into a completely
Yes.
political
Yes,
debate,
yes.
or we try and stay on point
Yes,
here.
yes.
I mean, it's a little bit too much now.
No, first, I also, excuse me, I also have one more question, sir. I think you completely digressed from, you made your point, but the point I'm looking for is, I have a question for you. Just answer
yeah.
it very, very briefly.
Yeah.
Okay? We are talking about China's vision and how they're implementing it. Let's say today in Tamil Nadu, what I know I'm going to ask you, in Tamil Nadu, the national government has a vision. It's a 8-lane highway. They have a vision about a hydrocarbon scheme. Now, you are against those visions as a person, as an organization, and as a representative of your people, right?
See, it is not, see, if you create 8-lane road, what is you have to see the purpose of it. There is a possibility of building a highway and make a great opportunity to, without inflicting a damage to the farmers, you can create a highway. It may cost more.
No,
but
I
you see,
understand the justification.
See,
I just want one question.
see, when
the
you-
vision, do you support it or not?
See,
Do you
you
support the
need a
national
development.
government's
When you go for a developmental politics, there will be a disturbance in the existing structure. But we cannot completely oppose, we cannot completely support. See, the problem, why you have to support?
I'm going to throw the mic
Why you
open
have to
to
support?
Mr. Mohan Kumar.
Okay,
Varadarajan.
Mr. Ponnaj,
Thank you.
just a second.
Yeah, please.
So, about this particular project, because I'm from Salem, so I studied it in detail. I mean, you cannot say you're opposed to every development project there is, but the purpose for which it was structured, as well as the reports that were put out there in terms of the initial DI, the initial assessment report, the environment appraisal didn't even happen, were all very sort of cut and paste from other reports, in fact, that came out. So there was no thorough appraisal done, and there didn't seem to be any valid reason to bring that particular infrastructure project. Having said that, today you have farmers protesting the use of their land for even putting transmission towers. And one must start to wonder, at what point do you start to try and move away from these models? See, the fundamental problem here is, Mr. Ponnaj, tuned to it a little bit, which is compensation and rehabilitation of the settlers of the land. Multiple times what's happened is, the farmers haven't, been compensated properly and have not been rehabilitated properly in the past. There was a law, some of the exemptions of those laws were brought in by their government and other state governments as well. I'm going to try and make this as apolitical as possible and say there is a severe problem here with governments not having enough money to compensate farmers for the land on an immediate basis, therefore having to do it over a period of time, and a sense of distrust between the landowner and the government that this will be possible.
Yeah, naturally, because every 5 years the government will change as well. I'm going to quickly throw the mic open to Mr. Kumaravel. He's been patiently waiting to get his point across. No, you don't want it?
Kasthuri, see, I would like to make a point here. You were talking about...
Let me just quickly summarize this thing also. My question is, so now Mr. Ponraj was very vocal in criticizing both the Congress and the BJP governments of the past. So now, who amounts to positive politics? Sir, do you think they were both negative politics, or they were both positive politics, or they were both mediocre politics?
No, it is not the question of negative or positive politics. Suppose if we take the two cases, 8-lane road and Niduvasal. If they pursue the current policy, then it is a negative politics, whatever they do. But what I feel, if Neduvasal, if they want to take a methane or hydrocarbon, if the country demand is 540 million cubic feet of gas per day for next 20 years. But if that is sufficient, if you do it, if you take it from the deep sea.
With a few modifications, it's okay.
With a few modifications.
I'm only interrupting you because I want
Yeah,
everybody to participate.
That is what I am telling. Two things, simple things I will tell you. If they are able to take and meet the Indian demand, if they do it in deep sea, they need not have to disturb the delta. Okay? That is positive politics.
Sure.
Okay, next one. Eight lane road. 8-lane road is essential, which is needed. Okay? But if they give a proper compensation, it is never the history. One. Next one. You make the farmer as a partner. Then they will give the land. You make the policy. That is a positive politics. That's all.
Thank you.
Kasthuri, I would like to.
It seems to me that the problem is in a country of 1.35 billion people, nobody is going to always agree with everybody else. And that seems to be the biggest issue here. He has an idea of how it can be done, but it has to be done in a different place. Another person has an idea of how it shouldn't be done. So, yes, sir, you were saying.
See, starting from Sterlite. See, all copper smelter units in the world, they emit. Nobody can say that copper smelter units will not have pollution. Definitely it will emit. And we have seen even in Gujarat, even throughout the world, even in China, you are seeing so many copper smelter units. But do we really need copper smelter units? Yes, we need it. We have to understand that first. But in 1998 or 97, whatever it is, the time when the Vedanta group Sterlite came to Tuticorin, the population in and around that area was only around 8,000 people, the population. What is the government's duty? The state government's duty should have definitely rehabilitated the people to a safer place, and it should have seen to it that these people do not get affected, and also the copper smelter unit functions properly. Now the population is around more than 3.5 lakhs people are there where they should not have been. Who is responsible for that? 1 minute, I'll let. I don't want to blame DMK. One minute, sir. 1 minute. 1 minute. Let me
I'm not going to
finish.
make a political point at all. Sorry.
Okay.
I'll make
Okay.
my point.
Then you.
Let him finish.
See, I'm not talking politics. I'm not talking politics. How pollution control board certificates were given, etc., etc. Definitely the emission will happen. I do accept. But how there was a clean chit to the Sterlite factory, we all go by the constitution, we all go by the law, we all go by the court. The court said it is very clear and there are no emissions as per the court, as per the arguments, as per the judgment. But the same court fined 100 crores which the company gave the very next day, but we have not used it. We all have to understand. In Salem 8-way, definitely the Madras High Court has not
Sir, without sounding impertinent, just a
pardon.
quick clarification.
No,
When
no.
you say we, are you talking about we as in BJP or we as in Sterlite?
No,
Because
no.
I
See,
think it's getting
why
a little
should I talk for
fussed
Sterlite?
over. The
No, no.
boundaries are getting a little blurred.
People, that's what. We always, we differ with views and we always differ with whatever the government says. And that is what we are doing. If BJP is in opposition, we are saying that. If Congress is in opposition, we are saying that. Ponraj will say that. See, that is different. What I am trying to say is, Mr. Ponraj was saying about our M.S. Swaminathan report. I am challenging you. Out of around 180 or 190 recommendations given by Mr. M.S. Swaminathan, 100%, I am telling you, more than 150 recommendations have been definitely, we have taken care. But there are certain things which we cannot definitely, formulate, because I will ask only one thing. Mr. M.S. Swaminathan says genetically modified, GM crops should be there. How can we accept? Anybody there accept? No, we are not accepting. Our policy is not like that. So there are so many things that has to be
Okay.
omitted. Wait,
Sir,
wait,
it's not-
wait,
we are- Let's go into generic
we are
topics
going.
because
See.
we are not going to discuss the
No,
BJP
Kasturi,
manifesto in
Kasturi,
detail.
I'm not talking
now.
about manifesto. I'm sorry, I'm not talking about
Just
manifesto.
a little bit.
I'm just telling you, I'm not talking about manifesto. When you talk about Neduvasal, what had happened in Neduvasal? The previous government, in 2006, they gave a clean sheet, and the member of Legislative Assembly in that area was a communist MLA, and the member of Parliament was Mr. P. Chidambaram. And you give all these things, and you give, you say that you spend so many crores of rupees, and you will give all the licenses to extract and all those things. Suddenly, after becoming opposition, you all come to fight. See, how is this? See, democracy is okay. You can always criticize. I will tell you one good example for this.
Can I get
Please,
Mr. KPR's
please.
opinion and then come back to you?
Just.
Can I
see,
get Mr.
the
KPR's
first round,
opinion and come back to
The
you?
first round, I finished within not even 30 seconds.
Can I
At
get
least
Mr.
give me that 2 minutes.
So
I will tell you only one thing.
So before you finish, I'll just make one point, which is that, India Positive is quickly diluted into the tu meme.
No,
We started blaming
that's
each
the whole
other.
point. We
So
start
can we just
talking about
bring
positive
us,
politics and
you
now
bring
it's the
ourselves
blame
back
game
to
here.
like the larger.
I'll tell you what, positive, when we talk about positive politics, I will tell you two things on climate change. Climate change is a very big challenge to the world. In August 2014, in a UN convention, our Prime Minister Narendra Modi went there, and the entire world, all the countries were pressurizing us not to use fuel, not to use coal. But whereas our Prime Minister said, see, all you people have developed. Our country is a poor country, but we have natural resources. Even the poor has not seen the facilities what you have been seeing. So we cannot, reduce those things now. But one thing I can assure you, that this country, India will give you a beautiful art to combat the effects of the global warming or climate change. And that is yoga. But what we did, 175, let me finish. This is the problem even during debates. Suddenly they will say,
So the problem is
that is what we are doing.
Wait,
let me finish.
Isn't it
Please let me
listen to
finish.
other points of view.
Okay, let me finish. See, this is an elite crowd. I am not trying to blame anybody, please. A lot of people, really I am telling you, we all go by the media reports. When it comes to yoga, 175 countries accepted it and they are practicing it. The only one country where we had a strong opposition is India, which gave that yoga. And they said, BJP, this government is trying to insert Hindutva into this. This is what has happened.
I'm so sorry, but you know
It's a
what
fact.
is happening?
And
I
that is
feel
negative
like-
politics. Is this not negativity?
Excuse me, I feel like Tamil Nadu politics, the political scenario is playing itself out on the stage now. The ruling ADMK minister is not saying a single thing, and the BJP representative, is speaking everything on his behalf. Everything.
Okay.
The poor government minister is not allowed to speak anything.
No, I can. I can, but
Is this,
So, give us the chance.
There is nothing wrong also. What is that?
no, I
Wrong
know.
also.
See, let me just start with the first response to this.
Sir,
There's no
just once
connectivity.
again, I would like to request you to make an example to everybody on stage and put forward your views. You have had the least time, but I have to request that you show everybody here, including me, how
I
brevity is
understand.
wit.
I understand. So, listen, I'm very happy the last few minutes you've been centering around many large positive themes, whether it's interlinking of rivers, or whether it's GST, or whether it's yoga. I think multiple things happen, but it would be nice if the undercurrent was a little more positive. The themes were very good. Each one of the stuff that we take, I'm sure what he spoke about, phenomenal issues. The great problem we have in India is, any of these issues, we don't have a single, what you call as, fair, neutral think tank, which actually gives a neutral view, like the interlink of rivers, if you really were to look at currently. You know, when Modi initially pushed through the Narmada flow into Gujarat, there were many people who opposed. In fact, there were people who made careers out of that opposition. But when he actually, the transformation of Gujarat happened with 1 lakh check dams and everything, Sabarmati integration. Even today, I see the physical transformation of Ahmedabad. Whenever I see there, you know, nobody, you know, today has any conceptual questions against interlinking of rivers in a mini fashion, like the Godavari Krishna, which has happened due to Naidu's initiative, phenomenal initiative. The Kakatiya initiative, which has happened in TCR, what he had done, the Grand Kakatiya, where he has interconnected close to 50,000 river bodies with World Bank assistance. He has done it. The problem in our mainline media, madam, unfortunately, we don't focus on any of these things which have really led to good beginnings. You know, I think Naidu, hats off to him for having done Godavari Krishna in 172 days. It didn't happen in China. It happened in India. Okay, so my dear friend, Ponraj sir, my learned friend, I like him to go back to the PPT he presented to Amma on 2011. I can even remember the date visibly where he spoke about so many things, and with every minister, he was asked to tutor them as to what can be done. And one of the aspects was river linking, river interlinkages. And today when we say Godavari will come to Chennai with certain firmness, and when all the other aspects relating to it, your dear friend Dr. Kamraj gave the Tamil Nadu River Water Integration Project, multiple evaluations happened of that, and honestly I miss a good think tank, whether it's Aspen or whether it's someone else. If Chetan can create one, it would be phenomenal. Somebody who will assess things in a non-political sense, give us both sides of the story. Like Rahul, when he initiated this discussion, he was basing it on the environmentalist theme, saying that pumping up water from North India to South India is a no-no, and so this Ganga Kaveri is not a project that I would stand with. He said that in an open press meet, and I think that is his standpoint. But to me, the extremely large body of evidence, I believe that, you know, what we started today in a small way in Coimbatore, I'm coming from Sulur, and the entire project of Attikadavu Avinasi scheme, which is actually a river water integration scheme, Lower Bhavani and projects like that, 1,642 crores, finally we did it. Someone who, in your view, is a nondescript chief minister, not a media-savvy chief minister, he did that in one stroke of a pen. And something which has been lying idle for 60 years. Don't forget that the next 34 months, we're going to see Attikadavu Avinasi project realize, fill 943 tanks, and all that is going to happen right in your home state, you know, right in your home district, from Kalingarayan Canal, upstream, pumping is involved in that. Downstream, getting water to flow from Bilur Dam is there. But this doesn't figure in mainline media. It only can figure in my election campaign, where farmers go on a road show to support us. In my view, positive politics need to begin with taking a neutral view of many challenges we have. And each of these three things you said was a challenge. I read the 3 of your articles on GST, and I was part of the GST Council shaping this entire GST legislation initially. And I really felt some of that was helpful in terms of looking at like the Chidambaram model. And what has got implemented is actually the Amma model. Nobody gives credit to her any longer. The model that we created in GST today, with all its what's and all, with every negatives, it's today the working model which got created by 31 ministers sitting around there. They were some of the best brains in India. There was a Jammu and Kashmir finance minister who's an economist of significance. You had the Kerala chief minister, Kerala finance minister, who was again an economist of a major ability. And you had people like them who were all politicians, who were all doing positive politics, sitting around, attempting to create 4 legislations. In independent India, it's not happened. You know, where a group of ministers actually engaged in legislation making. And to me, why would you keep flogging GST? You know, with all its difficulties, we can make changes, but we created a system of one nation, one tax system, as far as indirect taxes is concerned. So to me, all the 3 themes which we were squibbling about, mired in political controversies, in my view, have their positive aspects. And to me, the positive politics to me has to begin with recognizing wherever there is something positive, critiquing wherever something is negative. I have no qualms in saying Congress did certain things very right. I have no issues. Even in Chidambaram's first model of GST, I don't think it's all bad. Okay. To me, I don't see a reciprocity when you see Chidambaram actually criticizing whatever things which in his model we took as right things. So that is to me negativity. Can we take out the toxicity of negative politics from here and start looking at even the yoga stuff that he said?
You know,
I mean, you had Congress had all the years.
He spent
earlier.
10 minutes praising yoga and his prime minister. You spent 10 minutes praising your former chief minister. Should I spend the next 10 minutes?
My chief minister I praise.
I'm
I
actually
praise
going
Edappadi.
Your current.
I
Former
praise
and
Edappadi
current. Former
Palaniswamy.
in the sense of Amma being responsible for GST.
Everybody is promoting
I
their
mean, yeah, I
brands
made the point.
here.
I can't
I
go
made
down
the-
this path
I made-
again. So
I made the-
I'm going to boil it up, since I thought maybe you would, but you haven't, and say that land acquisition is one of the central issues, one of the most important issues that we need to solve in this country. There was legislation passed, some of it was changed. I will freely admit that the legislation passed in the Congress government also I didn't find perfect. Even now I find this place for innovation. What he said, for example, is make the farmers partners. I think it's a great idea. I've said this before also that, you know, if we were to build a highway, why can't we share toll revenue and things like that with the farmers? I think that's a nut that we definitely need to crack if we need to build infrastructure. Let's talk about that.
The
Okay.
only state
So-
which it has happened is Tamil Nadu. I want you to recognize it. 660 crores rural transformation project today, which we've announced in Tamil Nadu, where the Farmer Producers Council is getting turned into companies where you put in 10 lakhs, government put in 20 lakhs. It's a World Bank project, which is happening right here. The problem is we crowd out any of these positive stories. With so much of battle we have over negative stories. In my view, where else has it happened? Gujarat attempted it, but Tamil Nadu has implemented it.
Let's-
The rural transformation project,
talk
where
about
value-added
media.
manufacture for farmers, the Farmers Producers Council, the only state where we've transformed it into companies where government can put in 20 lakhs, 10 lakhs is given by the Farmers Producers Councils, is only Tamil Nadu. To my view, this is just one instance. Amma made that commitment. விவசாயிகளை தொழில் முனைவோர்களாக உருவாக்குவோம். That's what she said.
I
And she's
think we
done it
haven't
in my
given
view.
the ADMK government enough credit for what they do. So let's do that and move on.
No, that's, yeah, please give credit. Yeah.
We have made several points here at length. So I really wanted to discuss a lot of important issues that could make way for positive changes in the way we approach it. But we don't really have time for that because everybody has been making very vehement points. So I'm going to request for one-word answers. And please stick to the rule. We are going to play a game and it's one-word answers only, maybe 2 words, okay? I'm going to start with Mr. Kumaravel because he has to show the other 4 speakers how to do one-word answers. So please grab the mic and I'm going to ask you first question because these are the questions
I'm
I want to
ready.
ask.
Ask the question.
I want to ask from the book. Number one, media. It's a boon for positive politics or a sponge for negative politics?
Media in the hands of politicians. I think that is where the problem is starting.
Actually, one more question and you can answer both of them. Follow-up question, media, free or biased?
I think the Prime Minister had answered this during his Indian
2
Express.
words.
Let me finish. What is your problem?
2 words.
Normally, even only in television debates, I am being interrupted.
Two
Now
words.
Kasthuri is interrupting me.
No,
here.
we just want to do, I have 5 questions.
No, it's okay. That's what I said. Our Prime Minister gave this, addressed this issue in Indian Express, very clearly said there is no problem with the media houses, but there are a problem with the journalists. Ideologically, after the social media invention, the ideologically set journalists, we are facing problems, and definitely you cannot say it is biased or something. Everybody will definitely have their own ideologies. We are definitely, media is driven by those personalities. We have to understand this, and that is it. What I feel, maybe.
Thank you,
there
sir.
are these.
KPR, sir.
அதே கேள்வி அம்மா. என்ன கேள்வி?
Everybody gets the same question. That's why it's.
மீடியா ஃப்ரீயா பயஸ்டா?
First question, media, promotes positive politics or exacerbates negative politics? Second question, media free or biased?
Yeah, I see media as an amplifier. Whatever you give, they're able to amplify or attenuate from an engineer's point of view. In my view, I think currently the mix of media there are free media, there are biased media, there are people who, as he said, ownership is controlled by, and they take a certain line and all that. But I think if by net, I believe in India, the media freedom is very high. There is always a trip towards sensationalism, but I think as a politician who entered very late into politics, I've experienced media to be a great enabler for me personally.
That's
and
wonderful.
I don't see, there are negative aspects, but some of it I think we are far, far more positive than even in US or UK, where I've seen some of the media play a lot more dirty politics than what we see here. That's my
wonderful.
honest view.
That's wonderful. That's actually very positive, because I myself was thinking of how Mr. Kamal Haasan's speech was reduced to 3 words in the last few days, and I was wondering how that plays against your view, but thank you for that. Media, free or biased? Media, positive or negative politics?
Media is thriving on negative politics. Negative politics is thriving on TRP. TRP is thriving on Porani. Porani is thriving on serials and cinema. That's all.
I would have a same answer for cinema also. I would have a similar answer for cinema also, which has its plus, minus, but netted, I think Indian cinema.
I think media wants to be free, but is scared. Terrified, I think, from some of the things.
Scared of Mamata ji?
Scared of, I'm sure all of them
Everybody
know
seems
scared
to
of
know
who.
what you're getting
Scared
at.
of who, right? So they want to be free. And in terms of being a sponge for negativity or, an amplifier for positivity, there I have to agree with Mr. Pandey. They're just going to amplify what's given to them, and they're going to broadcast what gets them TRPs, which means this is, again, our problem. If we continue to watch, I've stopped watching broadcast news now. I just stopped. There's too much negativity on broadcast news. I get my news from the internet.
That's the
There's
answer.
just no point to the debate.
That's the answer.
Yeah.
Maybe they'll move away from that model. If,
I think
if more
as
of
the
us stop
people-
watching that kind of debate, they'll stop doing it.
So I'm going to give my 2 cents there. As the people get more matured, as the nation grows up, I think we are all going to learn how to get our news, our information, and not propaganda. I think people are going to learn, and that's the first change that we have to start doing.
I just have to also differ with him in one aspect, which is I think the media in the West has stood up to a belligerent president in Donald Trump a lot
absolutely,
more than
absolutely.
the media here has stood up to the Prime Minister, regardless of who that Prime Minister might be.
We stood up on both forces. We stood up many times against
I'm
many.
going to the next question.
I said
I'm going to the
regardless.
next question.
I mean, you really want
No,
me to
see.
get down there with you?
Kasthuri,
Penultimate-
when corporates,
penultimate question.
as one of the audiences, they said,
Penultimate question,
yeah,
please. I've got
one second,
people
one second.
on my head.
When the corporates as well as the politicians enter media, obviously it has to be biased. Absolutely, there is no issue.
Okay, before Michelle actually boots me out of stage, question to you. What do you think is the best thing the opposition government did? What will you give them credit for? Now, this is the most positive thing I can ask. What would you actually appreciate about
The
their
central government or the state government?
Anywhere where, I will at this point take Tamil Nadu. In Tamil Nadu it's not particularly different.
They haven't, I mean, there's nothing I can appreciate them for yet, but on 23rd they'll dim office and leave, so that's enough.
That's
See,
a
we
statement.
try for positive,
That's a-
but that's how the ball rolls. Okay.
See, basically, Congress would feel happy that BJP is implementing whatever Congress drafted. Okay. So BJP is naming whatever they have changed. They have named a different name, but they are implementing it. They should be happy about it.
Jokes apart, getting away from the implementation of GST.
No, I would
and
actually
the,
say take
I'm
the
finishing now.
history.
And
Take the history
implementing.
of Congress rule, take the history of
No,
Bishop rule in the
forget,
center.
forget history. This particular government, jokes apart, taking away implementation issues, etc. GST, the passing of that legislation is the single biggest tax transformation we've had. And I compliment them for that.
Sir, I will go in line. What would you give credit for to the previous Congress regimes, if you will?
I think,
or
yeah,
in your
I'll-
case,
no, no,
previous DMK
I'll go for the
regimes as
central
well.
government. Central government is easier. So I think, yeah, I think for Congress,
GST
I
is
think
done.
getting the, no, not
Another
GST,
choice.
not GST. I think this Nurnal Velai Thittam, whatever you call.
Jawahar Rozgar Yojana.
Yeah, Mahatma Gandhi,
Mahatma
whatever
Gandhi
Rozgar, yeah, Nurnal Velai. That's what, I think it was a phenomenal scheme which Congress brought in. Aadhaar was a phenomenal thing in my view. Aadhaar as a concept, the way it got implemented, getting a guy from Infosys to come and take responsibility, vesting with them, I think they were all positives. We had no issues on, not the RTI, that's why I said, yeah, RTI, Aadhaar and Nurnal Velai. All these three were phenomenal achievements by Congress. Except that, yeah.
See,
you know,
now
as far
we're
as-
happy. This is how
as far as
things have
DMK
to
is
be.
concerned, no, I have no issues. I've admitted in the open, and no, our leader has admitted in the open as far as
Sir,
these three
KPR,
aspects.
sir, you're very easy. I'm going to have
No,
to
no.
ask the same question
I
of
thought,
Mr.
I thought I
Narayanan.
was going to
Kasthuri.
respond on DMK government. No,
Oh,
no.
yes, yes, DMK, please.
I think DMK government, one of the good things they did is to change the, bring in the education on the box. This is taken from Rishi Valley, the Thangam Tennarasu, who was the education minister at that time. He brought in a phenomenal system of learning by discovery. In the Tamil Nadu schools, in my view, I think it was a phenomenal achievement. Yeah, one of the very few achievements that I saw DMK government, but this is something I like to recognize.
It's so beautiful to listen to this kind of a discussion.
Kasthuri.
I think we should only have one-word answers because this is working better.
I would like to congratulate Congress for continuing the unique identification number as Aadhaar. Maybe they would have changed the name, but they continued. Same way RTI, because we had Freedom of Information Act. So see, it is a continuing process. And GST, it was brought by Mr. Vajpayee, the West Bengal finance minister was the chairman of GST during NDA rule only. So it is not that we only did it or Congress did not do it. The way we implement, that is what even golden quadrilateral Congress continued. So we have to appreciate the work by the governments. Maybe politics will be there, but I think it will be fine. The younger generation is coming. Definitely things will be okay.
Kumravel, sir.
No.
Now, what do you like about what everybody's done in the last 70 years? You were angry, because when he started, finally we've come to the end, sir. When Mr. Kumaravel started his speech, he was saying a lot of nice things and nobody sat up and took notice. And then he started saying,
See,
I'm a very
when
angry
Kumaravel
man.
spoke, he said, the center is bad, the right is bad, left is bad, top is bad. He never said center, that is Mayam. I think he will say that.
No, but when he said he is a very angry man, everybody took notice. So sometimes even the positive things have to start with a negative headline. So Kumaravel sir, what do you like about what India has achieved under two political parties? Under two political
I
parties.
think lot has been achieved in the, if I have to borrow Chetan's word, I have to say something like this. Are we selecting history teacher or are we electing future leaders? The question what we have to look for is where are we going to go from here to the things. A lot of times we all keep on discussing what happened in Mahatma Gandhi and what happened to Indira Gandhi and Rajiv Gandhi and we miss the bus. I think time to step back to 2019 to 2025. How are we going to chart our course and where we are going to take it forward? And that's going to be the area we all can play together. There are some learnings from the history. Let it be like a rear view mirror. Let us drive the car through using the windshield and that will make a huge difference.
Thank you so much.
I have to say only one thing. My good friend Hemachandran, there was a very big revolution that time, when they formed a party like, Lok Parivartan. And really, I am very sad that, people like Hemachandran, the youths, could not get into politics. So I think Hemachandran people has to come like
I think we can. There are several issues that I did want to cover. There was one issue that I'm not going to open now because we have come to the end of today's time limit. But I did want to talk about money politics and how I think that is one where we definitely can make a positive impact as a people and as political parties
paid news,
as well.
Paid news, as in paid news.
No, paid voters.
As in paid
Cash for
news.
votes, where people have to say no. But even before people have to say no, parties have to say no. Everybody is looking at the other guy and saying, let him stop. He did it first and I have to follow. So this is something that you can all maybe come to a consensus and decide, you know what, I'll pay each other, we'll take it home, we just won't pay the people. You don't pay the people, then the people can't ask you. And you don't corrupt the people is probably a very positive start for the rest of India's future.
I have to say that
let me finish. These
go
are
ahead.
points that I wanted to bring up. The other point I wanted to bring up was about pollution as regard, as against development and how the water scarcity and the eco-friendly lifestyle. Because India is not just people, India is not just the 730 parties. India belongs to children who don't know how to speak or walk, and birds and the bees. And none of us have all of us have the same problem. All of us are facing a water crisis. So these are issues that as a citizen, I would like to see politicians, leaders coming together to solve. Tamil Nadu has a hoary history of people not agreeing on water. And I would like to see I would like to see human beings on the other side of that dam look at us and think these are thirsty people, much more than these are the guys who are going to deny us votes in the next election. So I would like to see some things happen, not politically, but socially. I wanted to talk about social justice 72 years later. Are we going to take a positive route to social justice, or are we going to bring it up in every election? But I guess all this has to wait for another day and another discussion. I thank you so much for your insights today. And I think it's a positive beginning with more Chetan Bhagats. And sir, I'm going to be your spokesperson now. And I'm going to say, Hemachandar, you should join politics. Kasthuri should join politics. Chetan Bhagatji, you should join the ADMK. See, right? Everybody here, frankly, I think everybody here is here because we have some kind of political responsibility here. I think that's what has made every single person here show up on a Saturday evening when they have many other choices. That is what makes May 23rd more important than a cricket match. That is what makes India great, and that's our biggest hope for the future. Thank you so much.